Welcome to Elevate Your Event, your favorite podcast for transforming fundraising events. Join us weekly for expert tips and creative ideas to make your next event a standout success.
Today, we're diving into donor retention, how to keep supporters engaged, build lasting relationships, and make small changes that have a big impact. Plus, we're sharing expert insights and a few fun stories along the way. Let's get into it.
Welcome back to the Elevate Your Event podcast, where we talk about all the weirdest things you've ever drank in your life. Yes. And events. We talk about events as well.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a little home team episode here. We got the Handbid team here in this studio. Yeah. So let's go around. We've got our favorite Gen Zer.
I'm the favorite?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I know my daughters are probably offended, but yes, go ahead.
It's okay. I'm the favorite at the office. I'll take that.
That's right.
My name is Michaela Roth, and I am on the sales team here at Handbid.
Fire. Michaela's fire. Okay.
Yeah. I'm Inga Weiss, and I'm old enough to be Michaela's mother.
I think all of us are.
Or take her out drinking.
I'm Elise Neugebauer. I'm also on, Inga didn't say, but she's on the service team, and I'm on the service team.
Right.
Yes, we are.
All of them.
Everybody knows that.
All of the most special people at Handbid. And Jeff Porter, CEO and founder of Handbid. And we are here to talk about
retaining
donor retention.
Donors.
Retaining them after an event.
Correct.
Okay,
all year round.
Yes. So one of the best ways to retain a donor is don't let them drink fish vodka at your event.
Ooh, that's
what
a
about
good
wheatgrass, though? You might keep them alive with the wheatgrass.
You might have them for years and years to come.
Yes. Right. We are going to definitely have to splice in the long conversation we just had about the weirdest things we've ever drank. Mine was fish vodka, which smells as bad as it sounds when you talk about fish vodka. So
it's terrible.
Sounds pretty bad.
Anyway, so this comes up a lot. You know, we're talking about donor retention, and with events, because everybody's like, we have these events and we want the entire experience to be really smooth. And so that means that we're going to make check-in really, really streamlined. And a lot of times when people start doing those things, what ends up happening?
You guys tell me.
Oh,
I'm learning from you guys.
Well, you don't capture all the information you need in order to start a great donor relationship. So donor retention has to start with knowing who the people are. Right. So we should start out with that. Let's talk about the check-in registration process. I mean, we've beat this horse to death on this podcast. We have. But like as we kind of go through the event itself and we talk about follow-up, in order to do follow-up, what do I need to know?
You need to how to contact them.
Yes. How about a phone number or an email? That would start. And their name.
Right.
Yes.
Versus guest Vice, right? Or my favorite is when it's like, oh, Inga brought somebody, but we didn't get his name. Okay, well, I guess we're not going to be able to chat with him.
What if Inga's friend ends up being the biggest donor of the night?
Dear Inga's friend, thank you so much for your $1,000 donation.
And why would you not want to know? Why would you not want to know who's coming to your event?
Well, I think they do want to know, but I think there's a missing connection between what I need to do to capture information at the door and the trade-offs that it might slow down your process or require your donors to provide information in exchange for your ability to be able to thank them or communicate with them. Right. Yeah. So I think a lot of times people just miss that connection. It's like, I'm just going to pre-register everybody. I'm going to put all their paddle numbers on the table, and that's what it's going to be. Yeah. Except for you don't even know who they are in a lot of cases.
Right.
For sure.
So when you chat with people on the service team or you're coaching them and they bring this kind of stuff up, what kind of pushback or arguments do you get around why they don't want to capture this data?
I feel like they focus on wrong things. I literally had a conversation in service desk yesterday via email with a client, and I got a major pushback because she kept saying, I do not want to bother this donor. They're giving us a donation. They don't want to register. I'm not going to ask them for their email because I don't want to bother them. I'm not going to ask them. I just want to enter their donation. Has to be a way to bypass their information. And just, I was like, but why? What's the point? Why would you not want to have at least their email?
If they're going to donate,
correct.
What are you? I mean, do you know their name? I mean,
Yeah.
So you don't want to get their email address. So how are you going to send them a receipt? You're going to print it out at the front desk and hand it to them?
Right.
That's right.
Especially
That's
it's
right.
tax season right now.
Right. That's
I'm
right.
gathering everything together and it's like,
Yep.
oh my gosh, if you don't have that receipt, then how are you ever going to get it to them?
I know. That's what I'm struggling
and I think
with.
that's where disconnect is. They feel like that they're going to bother and inconvenience a donor by asking for their contact information. They want the money. Of course I want the donor's money, but I'm not going to bother him and ask him for his email. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm not making that connection because
Yeah.
how are you? I mean, and the last thing I want as a donor is for you to hand me a piece of paper I have to stick in my pocket at the
Right.
event with my receipt.
Right. Right?
I don't even want the
Or
paddle
hand it
number.
to your wife.
So true.
Oh, my wife carries a purse that's smaller than her hand, right? I mean, it's like, where is that piece of paper going?
In
Right?
the trash.
Yeah, or they leave it around and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's kind of the first part, right? Is you look at it and you say, if you want to have a long-term relationship with a donor, or at least a follow-up relationship where you're trying to retain them, you have to know them first.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're coming in the door, and obviously a little bit of work to do, but you're streamlining the process as much as you possibly can. And hopefully there's been a lot of pre-registration, and hopefully Inga wrote down her guest name and his email address.
That's right.
But if she didn't, you capture it at the door.
You can get it.
Yeah. And now they're in and they're doing their thing. And so obviously another great way to retain donors is to have a good experience.
Yeah.
Right.
So don't serve fish
sure.
vodka on the tables.
That's right.
But what else? I mean, like you're talking about people that may be new to your organization or those that have been around for a while. So if they've been around for a while, you fear, kind of the donor fatigue.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. And so we'll talk about that. One way to maybe deal with donor fatigue is to, make constant, I call them constant micro improvements to your event. You don't have to shake the whole tree every year, but
Switch it up a little.
you switch it up,
Yeah.
or you identify areas through surveys, right, of what worked and what didn't work, and you make adjustments there to constantly improve the experience. And we'll talk about my event here in a second because we're going to do that. But then on the new side, you have to give your quote unquote newly minted, just got their email address donors. You got to give them some way to connect with you.
Right.
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 So what is that?
Well, what about, we always talk about making your event easier so you can go and work the room, talk with your donors, go and thank them for coming, introduce yourself, find out
Yeah.
why they're there.
Maybe hire some qualified staff to do your
exactly.
check-in, or maybe get your volunteers extra trained up so you don't have to be at the front door. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
But also I think you have to give some of these folks something to do. So I walk into the event, sure, I can grab a drink at the bar, or I can go grab some hors d'oeuvres that are passed, or maybe at a food station or something, but I'm not engaging with you to do that as a new donor. So you got to have stuff to do. Maybe it's an auction.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a, some sort of game.
Games are fun. People love games.
Yeah,
Some of them are lame and boring.
Could be
when you do
it could
them
be
again
a drawing.
and
It
again.
could be selling them some beads for a heads or tails game later on. Anything where you've got to get them to connect. So now I'm connecting, guy or gal that checks in, email address, phone number, to some sort of activity where they're going to hopefully spend some money with you. Okay? Because not everybody walking in the door is likely to donate in your paddle race.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you hope so, but that's not always the case. And you're an auctioneer, so you might have seen this. So I have mixed feelings about this approach, but have you seen auctioneers, and maybe you've done this, that try to, quote unquote, persuade or shame some of the people in the room to donating in the paddle race?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've seen it. I've seen it.
You came here
Does
with
not look
somebody,
good.
maybe you're new
Does
to
not
the
feel good.
organization and you've never been here before, but you got a great meal and somebody paid for that. And so we're just asking that you consider strongly donating at least $100 to cover the price of your ticket. Have you heard? auction?
Yes. Multiple times. And it's cringeworthy.
Ooh, it's
It's
like
cringy.
guilt trippy.
Yeah,
It is a little guilt trippy.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Do you think it works?
It works for
does.
certain crowds. It works. I've seen it done where it does not come across as tacky, and it works. It's literally there's an event where you have a lot of sponsor tables. The sponsor might invite entire office to their table, and maybe they've never even been to event. They have no idea what to expect, and somebody literally has to tell them, be like, "You got an amazing meal. You didn't pay for your ticket. Can you please raise your paddle?" And they're like, "Of course I will." Right? It works for a certain audience, and
Totally.
it doesn't work for certain audiences at all. It's cringeworthy and it's awkward.
I just wonder if that you're going to retain that donor.
You probably will not.
Yeah, I struggle with that. I mean, one of the first
Right.
events I ever did with Handbid, and this is, oh my God, you guys, this is like 12 years ago. So we do this event in DC, and it was very much like that.
Yep.
So about, I'm going to pick on Michaela a little bit. So about 12 kids come in the door that are obviously in their early to mid 20s.
Yeah.
And they all work for Google, okay? And Google bought a table. Actually, they bought 2 tables.
Yep.
They were 2 6-top tables as a sponsor, and they gave it to all the people
Exactly.
in the office, okay?
The
And
brokest of all of the people in the
Yes.
office.
Yes.
and these kids come in the door. I'm thinking, these kids have no money. Like, I mean, they're not going to spend money on this
Right.
paddle raise.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
And they spent, I mean, I think maybe some of them bid in the auction on a couple
Right.
of things. But
Right.
the auction wasn't very big, but it was kind of a misfire, I thought.
Yeah.
You know, they were given free tickets by their company
Right.
to a party.
Right.
Yeah.
They probably got free drinks.
They
Listen,
probably- yeah.
I know well enough that if you guys put me in charge of getting a table full of donors, I'm not going to invite my friends because I know that we're all still broken,
Right.
paying off college and whatever else. So,
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you have to know your audience. You have to know your donor base. And you'll have it's great to give your big sponsors free tickets and free tables, but then you are taking a risk. There's going to be 20 people at that table that
aren't
they
going
are
to.
there to party and enjoy those free drinks, and they're not going to be your donors
100%.
ever.
100%. And so you need
It's
to
a
look
party.
at those types of sponsorships and say to yourself, who is the donor relationship
Right.
with? It's going to have to be with the sponsor. And you can try to get these people engaged, but you're going to have to get their data at the door, like we talked about. And you're going to have to give them some way of engaging that probably
Right.
isn't a $100 paddle raise or $250 paddle raise. It might be an auction where they're like, hey, I'm going to bid on this spa package or something like that, or gift card to a local restaurant.
Right.
You know, and now you're
Yeah.
starting to connect with them. Okay, so you've got the folks there. You're trying to get them to connect somehow, right? You're trying to get a transaction going because
Yeah.
once you do that, you can thank them. Okay. So let's talk about the other side of this, which is, you know, obviously avoiding fatigue at the same time is understanding what works in your event and what doesn't. And the best way to do that, honestly, is through a survey.
Yes.
So thank them and then ask them the question. And actually, we did this change last year, and I'm not sure we fully nailed it yet, but we started putting survey QR codes around the event at the event
Oh, interesting.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
because they're there, they're pissed, they're like, you know, the bar line's
Right.
too long, or the
That's where you're
drinks
going
are
to get
too
the most
strong.
honest feedback.
Oh, trust me, drinks were too strong, music's too loud. Like we got all of it, but like, why not?
Right.
Yeah, get that feedback.
You know, and then you can take that and start to make adjustments.
Yes.
And so for us, so at our event, as an example, so we do a Kentucky Derby theme party. So it's outdoors. There's a stage. There are live music, live bands. There's a huge TV screen that shows the race. People bet on the race. And then we sell these fire pit tables because this is Colorado, and even in May, it gets a little cool. So these tables, there's a 6-person fire pit table, and then we have a couple of the 8-person ones. And the feedback we got, which I thought was extremely legitimate, was, okay, these 6-person fire pit tables are too close to the stage. So you have to think to yourself, when you think of box seats at an event, or you
Right.
think of like more premium seats, most people at a rock concert, unless they're like junkies or they're Gen Zers, right? Like you, don't want to be standing in the front row.
Correct.
I bought a table. I want to enjoy the experience, but I don't want to be 10 feet from the speaker.
Right.
Location.
And when I say the speaker, not the person speaking, but the massive thing that is blasting 100 decibel music out.
Yes.
That's true.
And so we got this feedback. And so we said, okay, so this year we need to reconfigure our layouts.
Right.
And we're going to pull all the fire pit tables back, and we're going to put all of the,
The mosh pit, Gen Zers.
yes,
That's right.
all the millennials and Gen Zers that want to pay $150 to come, they can have a seat in the front.
Here we
Yeah.
go. And
Like
it's such a
the
small
yard.
change.
But that's the feedback we're talking about, because you want to retain donors and get them to come back or get them to engage. Well,
yeah.
make sure you give them a great experience.
Right.
And I get it. Like everybody's like, oh my God, that's why we don't ask for their information at check-in, because it's an inconvenience. It is not. Like that one will probably argue with you till the cows come home, because
That's right.
it is not an inconvenience to get their information when they arrive. But you create these experiences at the event. You get them to connect with you. We talked about all of that. And then you see what's working and what's not working, and you make your adjustments.
Right.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
And I am big on, we're gonna put more of these out this year. Big on survey them while they're there. Just put QR codes out.
Yeah.
How's your event experience? Do you have any comments?
Yeah.
Scan here, and it's like a really simple form. Let them fill it out.
I think that's a
You
great
don't even
idea.
need their name. You don't need their name. You just need their feedback.
Yeah. Because as soon as you leave the event, you're
You're
kind of
done.
done with it.
Yep.
Right.
You're not
You
thinking,
are.
let me go back into the survey. Or, if you do get it later on, you might just go through, hit all 10s or all
You do,
zeros,
and
whatever
it's
you
the
may
people
be.
that love you, and they're always like, "Your event's great every year.
That's
Thank you
right.
so much. Had a
That's
great
right.
time.
Yeah.
9999999." I was like,
no.
"You're not the one I want.
Exactly.
I do want thank you, right?"
But you want the honest, real feedback so you can make those
Yep.
micro
Right.
adjustments.
And look, not all feedback should be actioned on. I will comment you
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
But you have to take it all and kind of
Sift through
accumulate it and sift
Yeah.
through it. Because some people are unreasonable. Let's be honest.
Absolutely.
But there's nuggets in there.
Yes.
Okay, so you do your feedback, and hey, look, even afterwards, send something out. How quickly?
Right
I think
away.
The next day.
Right away.
Right
Yeah.
away. If you wait 3 months, you miss
They're
the
going to be
window.
like, what was that again?
Yeah, exactly. No,
So-
timeliness, right away.
Yes.
So the next thing would be what you communicate at your event needs to connect with what you follow up with, I think.
The same voice.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, look, some of these events we've been to, right? We can argue that maybe the charity is spending way too long up to, on stage talking about what they're up to. Okay, that could be certainly shortened. But there are certain things that you're communicating on that stage, and those things, in a lot of cases, require some follow up. Because it's like, we're going and doing X, Y, and Z, and we need your support in order to accomplish those things. How many people do you think really go out there and give quarterly updates to their donor base who attended on how they're doing against those objectives?
Not many. Yeah, they expect those donors to show up again next year
And they
after
might.
they didn't hear. And
And they might.
the most important donors, they might. Like they love you, they probably will show up next year again. But that's a wrong expectation. You're going to ghost them for an entire year, and then you expect them to show up next year and give maybe a little bit more money because you only touch base with them once a year. That is a wrong approach.
Right?
It does not work.
I agree.
Yep.
But we know what happens. Right?
We do know what happens.
And so it's hard to say you have donor fatigue when you haven't fatigued them.
Correct. When you only have time to say hi to them once a year at your event and you think that's all it takes.
Right.
Because there's so many other organizations that are reaching to the same donors. And how do you stand out? Like
Right.
every donor has a budget. Someone's budget could be much bigger than others, but they still have a budget. They can allocate those fundraising funds to whoever they wish. And
Yeah.
if you do not talk to them, guess what?
Well, and think about it. If your event's late in the year, maybe
Yep.
they've expended those
That's
funds.
right. The budget is gone. It's been allocated and you missed your chance. And it's all on you.
Interesting. So do you
It's
think
all
there
on
is
you.
something to be said for an event earlier in the year?
Not necessarily. I mean, it depends on what the event is.
Right.
But there is something to be said for running an event in November and then never communicating with these people again until the following late September
That's
when
right.
you invite them back.
That's right.
They might have already spent their
Maybe. That's
right.
charity spending for the
They
year.
already
Yeah,
did. Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Versus like in January or
Yeah.
February saying, hey, save the date. We're back again in November. Really excited about inviting you guys back. Here's what we're up to. And look, you don't have to send them a weekly email. I mean, but you definitely have to keep them kind of up to speed and going.
What about like mini events or some kind of like ways to continue that relationship that maybe makes them feel?
That's the old raising more money model. Do you guys remember Benavon? This is, oh my God, this is dating me, you guys. This is like 20 years ago. And so this became...
I was
wasn't
5
born.
years
Yeah.
old.
She wasn't born.
Michaela was maybe still a thought. I don't even know back when this happened. But so this became really popular. And the way the model worked was, and it's still, the concepts of this model still work. But you become a table sponsor or a table captain. Okay, so I really love this organization.
Yeah.
So I'm Inga. I love this organization. I love what they're all about. I'm going to invite 7 of my friends to come to this event.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to get them super excited about what this organization is about. And we're not talking, it has nothing to do with whether you're running auctions or whatever. It is donations for sure. But you can do all of those other things. But the whole point is you as the table captain need to recruit people that you expect will be future table captains. Okay. So you invite them all to the event and then they come and they get their information captured. And now the organization is reaching out to them and they're like, Michaela, I know you were a great guest at Inga's. Thank you so much for your support. We really want to connect with you. So you do these little micro events. So I'm going to invite you to just a coffee or a tea or something like that. We're going to give you a lot more detail about this because my job is to recruit you into a table captain.
Interesting.
Because
Okay.
now you're going to bring your friends.
Okay.
Okay. And so now you're out there. It's kind of like peer-to-peer fundraising at events in a sense, right? Like it just
Yeah.
takes some time to kind of do it. And I think there's something to be said about doing that because you are expanding your donor base. And I've even witnessed this recently. I mean, there was one organization that we got connected with and they were a client of ours and Handbid came in and, a group of us at Handbid bought a table.
Yeah.
And I brought in some of my friends who donated significant amounts of money. And so they were like, can you invite them back next year? I'm like, you should invite them back to buy their own table.
Yes.
Like, that's what they should be doing. That expands you from a lot of money at one table to 3 different tables that might also give you money. Right. And so it's the same type of concept, but it does, like the micro event thing, I think can work.
I think it
Yeah.
can. And I think sometimes, depending on how you frame it, it could be just like a little thank you. Like, come to this cocktail hour, a fun venue. Let's just chat, network, and make them feel special. I know
Like
organization-
appreciation.
Or get them to
Yes.
host it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's the other thing. Like, you came to an event and you got really excited and connected about it. And so maybe, Inga, you were new.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, you gave us $250. Thank you so much. Do you want to learn more about the organization? And you say yes.
Right.
It's like, okay, so we have a conversation. We go out for coffee. And it's like, you really are wanting to get more connected.
Right.
Inga, would you mind hosting a small event? We can help you with it.
Right.
Can you invite your friends? And you can do it at your house.
There's
and
so
say,
many
I just want to
ways.
introduce you to, blah, blah, blah organization and what it means to me. And I went to their event. It was really amazing. And at that event, not only are we connecting with them, we're inviting them to the next event, getting them excited about it. That stuff can work.
Yeah, and not every event. Like I love the little micro events. Not every event has to be the same model that like we are here and we're just going to ask you for money. It could be a networking event. Your donor appreciation event could be anything. Like happy hour on the Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Or meeting for coffee. Meet the principal on Monday, at 8:30, and let's network. And then you follow up with them with more information. Now they already engaged. That's when you can plant the seed that you still want their money, but now you know them already.
Of course.
Yeah. It builds that relationship.
Yes,
for sure.
it's all about personal relationships.
And building that familiarity with
Right.
your organization or your
Right.
personal brand. Yeah.
And on the flip side, I know we expanded quite a bit, but on the flip side, we see this a lot so much in service and working events. Like there's so many organizations that they do it well. They actually have great donor base, and they are so afraid to shake a boat, to change anything. And the response we get, but that's going
That's
to
how we've
upset our
always done
donor.
it.
But we always done it, number one. Number two, but we don't want to upset our big donors because they like what we do every year, and this is the only format we can do it. And it's so hard because you can introduce little micro changes. Move the fire pit tables around. That's already enhanced someone's experience, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to change your event altogether, but introduce something new.
Yeah, if I had a major donor that liked being in the front row, I'll leave them in the front row.
Exactly. Because no
Right.
matter how amazing you think your event is, events get stale. I promise
do.
you, they get stale for your donors.
Well, how many times have you left an event and you've been like,
You're
this is the
It's the
same
thing.
every year?
You sell the same items. There's same people. It's the same program. It's the same stale auctioneer. Change it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, you're preaching to the choir on
Yes.
that, and it kind of feels like it's the principles of the innovator's dilemma. Have you guys heard of the innovator's dilemma?
No.
Okay. So Clayton Christensen wrote this book years and years and years ago, and it's really about the concept of what they call disruptive innovations. So you have sustaining innovations and disruptive innovations. You have a company that comes in with a technology, and they get really successful with it, and then what generated their success becomes their demise because they have certain really large customers
Right.
who are connected and they're so connected, they're like glued to that technology that they drive all the decision making for the company.
Yep.
So classic example, we'll pick on them because they're gone, but like Storage Tech, right? So Storage Tech was a huge tape backup company, okay? That they eventually got acquired, but the problem is that their innovation was tapes for backups, okay? Well, what do you think
Like
disrupted
a cassette
that?
tape or a
Well,
movie?
these were different types of tapes, but it was tape. Have you seen a cassette tape, Michaelis? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
or like
I know,
a VHS
yes.
tape?
I know both of those.
Okay.
I grew up
Wow.
on VHS.
Very
an old soul.
similar, but they stored data on these tapes.
Yes.
Okay. And then they had big libraries and robot arms. And so when you needed a backup to be restored, you would type it into the computer and the robot would go get it. Did you see, what was the Star Wars movie that was Rogue One?
I don't know. I've watched them with my
Oh my
brother, but I
God.
can't.
I thought I was going to connect with you on a Gen Z level with Rogue One. I didn't.
Oops.
So anyway, so there they that's what they went and blew up was the Empire's data storage facility, right? Which is tapes. And so literally it's a robot that pulled the tape out and it would put it into a drive and you would pull your data off. And so back in the day, when I did data center work, I mean, we would install these massive tape backup systems that stored hundreds of tapes in them. And you would back up all your servers on a tape. And so what do you think? I mean, so what disrupted that?
They didn't. They probably
Oh,
weren't.
What technology disrupted tapes?
CDs?
No.
Well,
Internet.
No.
What do you have
flash
today?
drives. And,
No. Cloud.
oh, the cloud. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Where is all your
I was
data now?
Baby
Cloud
stepping.
storage.
Dropbox, iCloud, Google Drive,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That disrupted it, okay? Because storage became so cheap, hard disk storage became so cheap. I don't need tapes anymore, okay? Tapes are removable media. Some people still use them, but this organization got so connected to that as these new innovations are coming out, they're ignoring them because their biggest customers who are spending all their money with them want more tapes. I mean, they're not moving. They're not budging. Does that make sense?
Interesting. Yep.
So take that to fundraising. You've got these donors, okay? And they're probably not going anywhere. Okay? They're connected to your organization. And,
Yeah.
and so you're running your event in a way that pleases them, but you're not bringing in that disruptive new idea. That's something that's going to attract the next generation of donors. And then and for the longest time, that was mobile bidding. right? Oh, my
Right.
donors don't want to use technology. They don't want to use their phone. They
wanna
want to
use
bid on bid
paper.
sheets.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
They
and
like
so-
their
Right.
paper.
That's how we've done
Oh,
it.
we still hear it.
We still hear
Right.
it.
And the problem is that, one day when they're gone, you're gone, right? Because you can't connect to the next generation. And it's not that you can't flip the switch one year and switch to mobile bidding. You could, but you're not conditioning your organization to be able to stay current with the people that are coming up. And so that's called the innovator's dilemma, is that the thing that got you that customer base in the beginning is the thing that might cause you to lose the next generation of customers. And so it's not any different in any other industry. And I've been involved in so many industries that have been disrupted. Okay.
Yeah.
So Yellow Pages got disrupted by the internet.
Right.
Okay. The internet got disrupted by mobile. Okay. The music industry got disrupted.
Yeah.
And I think things are changing so much quicker now, too.
They are.
Yeah.
And so the fundraising industry was disrupted by technology that allowed people to use their phones.
Interesting.
Okay. So what are the next, and we'll have to do a different podcast on this, but what are the next innovations coming up that are going to take events to their next level, whether it's facial recognition or anything that are going, or augmented reality, or like all these really cool technologies out there that are going to take it to the next level, where we have a collection of customers, or there's charities out there that would say, my donors don't want that. Well, those donors are going to stay no matter what. You're trying to attract that next generation of donor who does want that, who's not going to scream at you because you put a QR code on the screen.
Yeah.
Or maybe they do scream at you, but they're still going to donate.
Right.
I mean, there's so much fear, I think, sometimes in, well, if I piss off, Fred and Judy, they're just not going to write their check. I think they're going to write their check,
Right.
And we've seen, like, in different organizations, like when we went in once, and we were they had just switched to mobile, and we're in there and they're like, oh my God, this guy is, Jeff, I'm telling you, he is our biggest donor. He has a flip phone. I don't even think he knows how to use that. We are terrified he's going to have a bad experience. I go, he's not going to have a bad experience, because here's what we're going to do. We're going to grab this girl over here who's 23 years old. She's a student at the local college. We're going to put his account on her phone. She's going to walk around and be his personal bidding assistant.
Here we go.
Love it.
And I think you
He spent 20 grand in the auction.
And
That's
you
right.
you can keep things and expand.
Yeah.
So if you have someone who's going to write you a check, who says, I'm not using credit cards, I'm not scanning a QR code, you say, Mr. Smith, come up and see me and I'll take care of you.
Right.
It's easy to do and you can appeal to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
There's one event we do where, like, most of the people write checks at checkout, and it's like, checkout doesn't mean write a check.
But it does to them.
It does. People love their check.
And they're like writing it out
Right.
like long form
Yeah.
and 1,223/100. And I was
Yes.
like, you're just watching them do it, and they are so proud to write their checks. And it's like, yeah. And we have a little baggie for all the checks that
Right.
come in.
That's right.
Hey,
It's
I
hilarious.
carry my checkbook with me.
You have a checkbook? I
that's-
don't even have a checkbook.
That's probably like the
You're
least
the
Gen
only
Z thing.
Gen Z
Oh
that
my
carries
God.
a checkbook. I promise you.
Yeah. It's,
Subtitle this podcast. And why Gen Zers have checkbooks. That's a whole nother podcast. I
oh
don't
my
even-
gosh, it's so important. How do you know your bank account number or the routing number?
It's on your app.
What do you need it for?
No, it is on your app.
It is on your app, Michaela.
I just learned when I was young that that's how you found it.
Yeah.
And
I still look at my checks for that.
Do
but
you?
I feel like you don't need that
You
often.
don't?
If you have a
Yeah.
new job,
God,
maybe,
checks.
that's it.
That's right.
My mother-in-law came over the other day, and she was going to support my daughter's mission trip and fundraiser, and it's peer-to-peer. It's actually running on Handbid, and she writes us a check for it.
Of course.
I was like, well, that's fine.
But you know,
Yeah.
Jeff, what's great about checks these days? You can deposit that by just snapping a picture with your phone.
mobile deposit. It's
Bam.
everything. Yeah.
And so you think old people can't learn technology? Well, my dad is 82, and during COVID, had to learn how to deposit checks on
There
his
we
phone.
go.
I call him up and how's it going? He's like, well, just deposited 4 checks using my mobile phone. Are you proud of me? I'm like, actually, I am, Dad.
That's right.
That's a feat.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So anyway,
Yes.
when there's a will, there's a way. But anyway, so let's wrap this up. So we talked about donor fatigue and donor retention, and it all starts with I have to know who they are.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, which means I have to get their data. When they check in, I got to get their data. I got to create a great experience for them. Okay, I got to
Thank them.
I got to get their feedback
Right.
while they're there. I mean, I think real time, in the moment feedback is the best.
Yes.
I have to thank them as quickly as I possibly can. I have to keep them connected through regular updates of what I promised at the event.
Keep them engaged.
Like, this is what we're doing with the funds that you so graciously donated.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes.
People love that. People appreciate that.
And they'll come back.
And they will come back.
They will.
And don't fear changing things up to drive a better experience because you're worried about one or two people who are going to be opposed to it. Because we ran into that. When we ran Handbid at our event for the very first time in May of 2011, we had our post-event review, and we doubled our auction revenue. We went to technology.
I believe
Okay,
it.
we doubled it. And so we're at the post-event review, and it was like, well, Fred and Ginger are upset. They like the bid sheets. We should consider going back. Like, we are not going back. Fred and Ginger are going to come next year, and they're going to be fine.
That's
Okay?
right.
They're going to be fine. But we are not. We doubled our auction revenue, guys. We are not going back.
That's right.
Right.
And the noise goes down. The next year goes down a little bit more.
Yes.
And all of a sudden they're engaged. And I'm telling you, 5 or 6 years later, Fred and Ginger were the biggest bidders on Handbid.
Here we go.
Just
Yes.
give them some time. So anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. Well, let's
right.
go take a shot of fish vodka.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Such a great podcast. And so anyway, we encourage you guys to, kind of take these tips, kind of make them your own, but definitely without a doubt, if you want to stay connected to your donors, get their info.
Right.
That's right.
All right. Thank you guys so much for attending. Until next time, happy fundraising.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you next time.
If you enjoyed our show, please take a moment to leave us a review. You can find us on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Don't forget to subscribe for more great content. And if you're a fan of video, check us out on YouTube. Until next time, happy fundraising.